Hi, I'm Matt Goodman, Senior Vice President for Economics at CSIS. The Covid-19 pandemic is a global health crisis first and foremost, but it has also triggered the worst global economic crisis since the Great Depression. With most business in affected countries shut down for weeks or months, the global economy has effectively ground to a halt. The International Monetary Fund is now projecting that the global economy will contract by some 3% in 2020. In the United States, more than 22 million jobs have been lost in the first month of the lockdown alone, and most other countries have had similar economic dislocations.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Segal, and I'm a Senior Fellow with the Simon Chair in Political Economy at CSIS. Countries in general have been very quick to respond to the economic fallout stemming from containment measures. They have cut interest rates, they have in some instances adopted unconventional measures designed to maintain the functioning of financial markets, and they have also adopted fiscal packages to meet not only the healthcare needs, but also to provide direct financing to households and to corporates. Advanced economies in particular have been able to respond very quickly and in very large scale to meet the needs associated with the crisis. In the United States, we've had 3 separate bills that have been passed appropriating more than $2 trillion, so that's about 10% of US GDP, to meet the needs associated with the crisis and the crisis response. Now, emerging markets and low-income countries have also been passing large fiscal packages to help meet the needs associated with the crisis. But in comparison with advanced economies, emerging markets and low-income countries are much more resource constrained, and so they're not able to mobilize the same magnitude of financing that most advanced economies are to respond to the crisis.
This is a situation crying out for international cooperation. During the global financial crisis that began in 2008, major economies got together through the Group of 20 and agreed on an unprecedented set of large, coordinated policy actions. The sense of common purpose in the G20 today has been undermined by disputes among major members of the group, between the United States and China, between Saudi Arabia and Russia, and even within the G7 advanced democracies. But some encouraging signs of cooperation have emerged.
One bright spot in terms of multilateral cooperation was the agreement reached by the G20 to provide temporary debt service relief to low-income countries that request it on their official bilateral debt. Now, this was an agreement that was reached by the G20 just weeks after it was proposed by the heads of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The agreement promises to free up much-needed resources for low-income countries to direct to their health sectors to respond to the pandemic. And it also promises to boost transparency. The big question now is whether what has been agreed by the G20 will be sufficient in terms of the duration of the relief provided, and also in terms of the country coverage and the fact that it's limited to low-income countries only, and also whether the pool of creditors needs to be expanded beyond just official bilateral debt. The answers to those questions are really only going to be provided once we know the true trajectory of the health crisis as well as the path to economic recovery.
Whether these encouraging signs of cooperation extend more broadly depends on whether major economies are willing to work together. The world's 2 largest economies, the United States and China, are especially important in this regard. There is a deep chasm of distrust between Beijing and Washington that has hampered cooperation to date. Will the 2 sides be willing to put aside their differences and work together? The course of the virus and its associated economic impacts could depend on the answer.